today because I was in a really heavy board meeting with my the representatives for our investors. So I'm still a bit shaken. I hope you'll be nicer. But I missed the introduction. So most of you who are here are students and PhD candidates, or do we also have some researchers? Yeah, so some researchers. I've seen you before. Okay, so we are you here because you have to, or because you have an idea? A little bit of both. Yeah, so it's not a room full of people who are going to start the startup tomorrow. Okay, but that's great. So we'll scale the conversation to that. So I'm the CEO of Unifractal. It's a learning tool. You use your phone and computer vision to recognize objects, and then you get learning content. And we're going to start by all of you downloading that app to your phone and registering. So that way I don't have to tell you how it works. You'll see for yourself. So you might have to scan it once, then download the app, then scan it again to get into the correct location. Are you getting in? Yeah. And then you register user. That's the only way to get back into that location. I'm going to tell you a little more about why I need you to register later. Okay, so are you in? So anyone who has a paper cup in front of them should be able to scan. If you I was going to connect my phone, but I'm not able to do it to that. But there's like a camera in the center of the app. If you're inside the location, you'd be able to recognize. You know the paper cups that they serve. So these cups are recognizable by the app. I just put it in, so I'm hoping it's done. The data set. And if your phone recognizes the object, then you'll be able to see a text that I just added in how to fill your cup. So that's the basic principle of the app. You get it? So, so I'm going to go through the way, like our timeline, how we, and we're a really good example of someone coming up through a TTO. I started in 2018 with a problem that I solved using tech. We got put into an incubator program. We got to be a part of Startup EX. We're now a part of Scale Up IX. This year, I either need to raise a lot of money or our company will go bust. And we're aiming for world domination by 2023. So that's the path that I'm on. I'm gonna angle this from the way that investors talk to you when they look at your company. And that's because the way the funding system in Norway and also international is made is is a very commercial system. So you can get money from the Research Council, but that's also more or less evaluated in the same way. So if you're not a commercial success, then this is not the way you should go. You need to have some kind of commercial potential. And so the investors will ask you, what problem are you solving? And who? What's your business model? So the business model is not, you know, I get paid, but it's like, how do you get paid? Who pays? They're going to look at your team. Are you, with the people around you, are you able to do what you're saying that you're going to do? And they're going to look at the total addressable market. That's a really important factor for investors. So if you can make the best product in the world, but if the total market that you could address is like, you know, Norwegian universities, it's too small. They're probably not going to go into it. They want some kind of huge international potential for your idea. Or, I mean, maybe all Norwegian universities would be a big enough market, but like, you know, if you have an idea that you can sell to this university, then don't waste your time. Okay, so now you've seen how Unifractal works. Basically, where I started was I had I'm teaching music technology, so I'm standing in the studio every autumn. I stand in the studio with a lot of students, and I teach them how to use the studio. And there's just all of these buttons everywhere. This is a slide made by my wonderful colleagues. So basically, I teach you how to use this mixing desk, which is it's a wonderful SSL mixing desk, and you of course you understand right away how to use it because I'm a really good teacher, and then we all leave the studio and you come back in the evening to record with your band, and then it's like, what did he say? You know, because as you all know, even the brightest person will only remember fractions of what you're told in a lecture. You have to repeat it and repeat it to remember it. And especially if it's like, is it, and this is like, this is the most asked question, which button do I press to get sound in the speakers? And so I was called every evening, the whole autumn. Hey, I'm in the studio, I can't get sound. You know, it's like every evening, because you know, it's just there's no, because they're all the labels. The label of the buttons are all like Mon A, Mon B, XC. You have to just remember which button to press, and you can't. So you have to. So and there's a folder lying there somewhere, but you don't use it. I mean, you have your band around you. You don't have time to check out and start flipping through the manual. So you call Marius or whoever is teaching that semester. And I was thinking, okay, there's a better way to solve this. I started with like making an ebook. Have anyone read an ebook? That's the worst. That's the worst format ever. So I met these guys. This is Simen and Ismet. The studio where I usually work is in Tvibit. It's like a youth center where you can train to do music productions or movies or whatever. And Ismet is working there with a lot of different like mixed media, like AR, VR, stuff like that. And Simen is a developer, young talented developer. And we just, okay, let's try and see what we can do. And we did we drafted something on a napkin, which is of course what you do if you're going to start a startup. And we figured out this, which is Studio Assist, which is basically a lot of videos of me explaining how to use the studio. And it's an app. So basically, it was Ismet said, "Oh, let's skip the whole ebook thing. Let's do an app." We did an app. The app worked really well, but we saw a huge potential to do something better. So we did a version 2 that was going to use computer vision to recognize the object, so that, because one of the pains for the students is that you don't really know what the desk is called. So if you're gonna find the information on YouTube, you don't know what the desk is called. If you're gonna find information on microphones, it's hard because they all look the same. And also when you find information on YouTube, the information is not really related to that studio because every studio is different in the way the desk is connected. Okay, so you recognize you're in that studio, you recognize the desk, you get the right information. You recognize microphones, you get the right information. And this started working. It was pretty good. My phone stopped ringing. I was happy. I was like, yeah, we did it. You know, now I can watch Netflix again. And then these Norinova guys started calling. Hey, you should probably do a doofy. What's a doofy? Who are you? What's Norinova? And so I met up with Martin and Anne-Karin, who are no longer with Norinova, but they talked me into doing a doofy, which is basically, and my experience is that you should be very careful how you write the doofy, because I just did it like in 30 minutes right before a lecture. I remember I had to like make it into the lecture, so I was like just pulling something together and sending it. So okay, so now they're going to stop calling, that's haunted me, because that doofy comes up at like every like legal negotiation. The doofy comes up and it's like full of, you know, well, dad jokes and bad English. But so do take care with your doofy. But so what they said was like, hey, maybe you can do a business out of this. And we're like, nah, yeah, maybe, you know, yeah, we could do that. But we're pretty happy with the way it works. Yeah, but you should, you know, maybe there's other people who have the same problem. Yeah, could be. Like, and there's, because, and I was like, I remember saying, yeah, there's like, I think there's about 600 students in Norway doing music technology. That's a big opportunity. And they're like, think bigger. And that's what they were saying. Come on, think bigger. So we were like, okay, who has the same kind of pains, which is a startup B word, you know, like you solve a pain for someone. And so we found someone who had the same problem. The people at the intensive care ward here in Tromsø, they get a lot of people who are really great nurses and doctors, but they come from another hospital to help out, you know, and because it's hard to have enough staff. So you know how to do your job. You just never seen that this is a ventilator, like what we call a respirator, but apparently it's called a ventilator. So and you don't even know the name of the ventilator, but you know it's a ventilator. You can tell that. So you need to find just a quick. Where's the you know, what's the called the screen lock? How do I turn off the screen lock? That's like the nurses that are responsible for training. I said that's the most. Like the guy who I talked to first said he's been woken up like 100 times of people asking, how do I turn off the screen lock on the ventilator? You know, because it's like you have to do like bing, 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 because the patient supposed to not be able to turn it to open, you know, and do adjust settings. So they had the same problem. So we did a quick pilot with them, financed by Norinova, and they liked it. It was really helpful to them. And then when COVID hit, they asked us if they could start using it. So they had to train every nurse, every doctor in the whole hospital here had to be trained to use those machines in case they had, you know, because they were doing the whole COVID preparedness thing. So they started using it. And so then we kind of started working properly, and we did. So this was the result of a doofy, meaning that it's owned by the university. It's partly owned because, you know, Ismet and Simen were also owners, but they allowed Norinova to hva heter det, forvalte in English? Huh? Manage their rights. So Norinova and UIT, they have they own the rights to this idea. So, and then we started a company called Unifractal that licenses this idea. So for every 100 kroner we earn, we pay 1 kroner to the university and to Norinova. And they split it up between Norinova, the university, and me and Ismet and Simen. Is that understandable? Do you get that? So if you have a good idea that is comes as a result of your research, the university owns it. If you're not a student, the university owns it, and then you can start a company that licenses this the right to the exclusive use of that idea in a company. Huh? Is that right? There's a lot of fidgeting from the Norinova guys, but it's approximately correct. Huh? Okay. Yeah. So when you do commercialization, there's like, since it's supposed to be a step-to-step guide, these are the steps. So you have to have a concept, which is basically there's a problem and I have something that solves it. Does anyone have an example of that we can use as an example? A concept would be, for example, to solve the problem of clouds obstructing the aurora for the tourists. That's a problem, right? And if you could solve that, that's probably you could probably earn some money, right? Yeah. So what would be your market? Who's your customers? Who's the customers? Who benefit from that? Tourists, yeah? Right. So tourists will probably be your customers. And so you need to build the team. So you're this amazing researcher on AI-based chemicals for making clouds disappear or become what do you call it, see-through. So you probably need, you're an AI researcher, so you need a chemist, right? You need some other people on the tech side, maybe someone to build this. Is that all you need? Would that be a good enough team? You have 3 people, like 1 chemist, 1 AI researcher, and 1 engineer. You good? Yeah, right. So you need business developers. You need a CEO if you're not going to do it yourself. And I don't recommend doing that. Then you have to go to board meetings. And you need probably you need some kind of there's all of these roles. There's a CFO, as Chief Financial Officer. You have a COO, which is Chief Operations Officer, which is basically what you get when you have someone like me being the CEO. You need someone who knows how to run a business to work with them. So that's Sheryl Sandberg in Facebook, if anyone knows her role. You know, she's the person who talks to the politicians. And when you send a CEO like Mark Zuckerberg to talk to the politicians, it goes bad every time, right? So that's a team, and the people around you are going to look at your team and see, are you able to do what you're saying that you're going to do? And then your team and you start building a prototype, which is basically could be very simple. If it's an app, it could be something like what I showed you first, like just a proof of concept. So you build something that you can you can make the clouds go away for just like 1 square meter, but you proved we were able to do it. That's the prototype. And then you need some kind of business model. And I painted myself into a corner now, but what's the business model for the Aurora cloud idea? So the business model is like, it's not, you know, we have customers, we have tourists who want to see Aurora. There's a pain, but do we have, like, who's going to pay for it? Who would pay for that? In Norway, often it's the government. So a lot of us go to do deals with the government. You find someone, like you find a hospital that wants to work with you, or like we did, or you know, you find some Tromsø tourist board or something like that. That's a potential model, you know. And also you could have the tourists pay for it. You could have the hotels pay for it. Like, that's different kinds of business models. But what's the total accessible market for an idea like this? That's something you also have to consider. Total addressable market, it's called. Sorry, not accessible. But so it's not, the total addressable market would probably be every city located inside the, you know, the longitudes that are Aurora based. You get, okay, this is boring, but you get what I'm thinking. You have to, these are the things you have to consider when you build your business model. And then you start building your minimal viable product, which is kind of where you start. This is what you can start sell. So it's maybe it's you know, it's if you're building an app, it's basically an app that can go into App Store, that works well enough to go into App Store. If it's the Aurora thing, you can probably just something that you could use to, you know, take away the clouds over one city or something like that. So it's it's more than a proof of concept, but it's not the finished product. And then you need to find a go-to-market strategy. And this is now, it's getting really, you know, but this is super important. So basically so you have a product, you have customers, you know who's going to pay for it, but then you're going to have to start making them buy it. And this is where a lot of startups die, in that the bloodbath, it's called, I think. It's like when you start selling your product and you're supposed to kind of start earning money. And for most startups, you don't have to really make a lot of money in the beginning. You just have to show that people are willing to pay. Because what you're living off is the funding. And the funding is what most CEOs, I don't know if Frode agrees, but I think most CEOs in our stage, at least, is, I think you're spending most of your time chasing funding. Yeah. And so, Frode and Anders, they have been really good at securing government funding. We're not that good, so we're doing a lot of talks with investors, and so it's private equity. Basically, you go to someone and you say, "Hey, I have this company. I need some money," and they I think that I had a meeting with a great guy called Theodor, who works in Snø, which is one of the biggest Norwegian venture capitalists. He actually has a DeLorean. If anyone has seen the Back to the Futures movies. Yeah, he did. He says he uses that car to kind of go back in time to do deals. And he said, I think he's screening about 1,000 companies every year. So he talks to 1,000 Marius every year, and they invest in 5 to 8 of those. And to get funding from an investor, you have to, I mean, and there's, okay, I'm just going to go into the details and you can listen as much as you want, but there's like, you have something called angel investors that do pre-seed investments. So it's basically, they just do smaller investments in really early stage companies where you somewhere here, you know. And then you have, the next round is usually called the seed round, which is where we are now, which is, for us, it's about 1 million euro. And the valuation of the company would be somewhere around 50 million kroner or 5 million euro. And then you have the next round is probably, that's when you have these huge investment companies like Wall Street style. And that's like a, 10 million euros or more, and it's called a Series A funding. And that's basically when you have like confirmed that you have a great product and people want to buy it, but you just need money to kind of sell it to a lot of people. So and what you will be doing is if you choose to not to just sell the license to someone, but to actually start a company yourself, is to chase money from people who they have a really big sack of money, but they are very careful how they spend it, and they're really good at looking at companies and telling them apart, okay, this is going to work, this is probably not going to work. So there's no way of fooling them. You have to have a great idea and a really good team and a good product. And let's see. And so I'm just going to run you through. So it's like when I talked to Theodor, this is kind of this is the slide deck that we're using. It's called an investor deck. So we just basically have a lot of slides, and we're telling him how great, like this is our value proposition, which is like what we give to the customers. We have some fancy videos. This describes how our users use the product, and this is how you make the data sets. See, yeah, and we spent a lot of time making this. This is where we're like use cases. This is how they use it at the hospital. We just skip that. This is how they use it there's a student housing called the Box where they use it. This is the team. This is the competitor chart, which is like, you have to, that's one of the first things you should probably do, is just figure out if someone already did this. And these competitor charts are funny because everyone makes them, and for some reason it's always your own company that ends up there. It's just, and this is our business model, which we're rebuilding now actually. And then there's all of these markets. We have a roadmap. You have that curve, which is also funny because it's always, the growth curve is always going, like this, and it's supposed to be, they talk about the hockey stick, which is, or exponential curve for those who are more into math. And we use, goals. Yeah. So, and this is kind of what an investor deck looks like. So you, so this is our journey, and just, a few years back, I was just before Nurinova called, I was just, hanging out and chilling and teaching. doing research, and now I'm standing here and and talking about startups. But that's, I mean, it's for us, it's been a great journey. We're doing quite well actually, and I very much recommend doing that that journey. I think that it probably shouldn't be the motivation shouldn't be economic, because it's that it actually takes a lot of time before you start making money, if you make any money at all. But it's really fun to build something. So that's a great, that's something I would really recommend. And you can always go back to doing research. Yeah, so takk for meg.
Thank you for the humoristic presentation. That was actually good here after so many talks. We have time for a few questions there. So we'll go away.
Yeah. 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 No, that's funny. Because you were talking a lot about patents, and you mentioned that software is hard to protect, and that's true. We're not able to protect the software at all. So it's funny because we're actually paying a license fee to UIT for something that's not protectable. Yeah, but no, we do have IP. We have a software, and we have a. I mean, we have a platform, you know. But it's not. You can't patent it, and you really can't protect it in any way. So and that's our, like, if we're really successful, then you know, Amazon Web Platform is probably going to do the same thing for free. You know, so that's, we just have to move very quickly to be able to build a good business. Huh? Hmm? Well, I officially I have a leave of absence to work with full-time with Unifractal, but because it's really hard to get someone to teach music technology, I actually do a lot of, or not a lot of, but I still teach most of the lectures in those subjects that I used to teach. But I actually get to not go to any of the meetings. So it's worth it. Huh? No, I'm paid from the startup. Yeah, and just to share, you know, I actually haven't been I haven't had money to pay myself for the last 3 months. So because we're waiting for, I was talking about this, the hospital. We're waiting to do a deal with the hospital, and we've been waiting for like 3 months for them to, or we started negotiating the deal in June. And for the last 3 months, we've been waiting for them to sign. And it's like, you know, there's the poor project leader up there. Probably the biggest expense on the project right now is new shoes for him, as he has to run through every office in the hospital. Is this okay for you? Can you sign here? You know, so we're still waiting to get that deal signed. So, but hopefully we're gonna have it next week. So then I'll be able to pay myself again. Yeah. Yeah, for us, it's basically now we've just come to that point where we started. We have our first paying customers. So now we just have to show that more people in more markets are willing to pay for it. And as soon as we've shown that, I mean, we're not making money, and we're not going to make money in like 2 or 3 years. So I need to show to investors that people are willing to pay for it, and then they will give us enough funding to go to keep, you know, expanding for a couple more years. And then our plan is to be, you know, to world domination by 2093, as I said. That bigger organizations or establishments for doing the next move in terms of keeping the company around. Yeah, no, we just have to expand very quickly. So I mean, this is the problem for everyone who's making a software, is that it's very easy to take the idea. So it's not, I mean, it's not cost free, and it's not that easy. So So like, you know, Google could do it, but it would take them a little while. So they could probably just buy us, you know. So that's so the strategy for a company, you know, of our size is just to get to expand quickly enough that you are a big player in the field, and then you'll either be bought or by someone. And that's not, you know, when that happens, there's going to be someone else who knows more about running a business who's going to be the CEO. So that's not going to be my problem, how to solve that.
From the audience? No, from the online. How do you manage criticizing your own ideas?
Well, I mean, that's we, of course, I'm not alone. It's there's a big team. We were 6 people now, and we also have a lot of advisors from. I mean, Norinova have been super important to us. You know, all of those stages that Borin and Morten was talking about is that they're. I mean, we kind of we've been through all of those stages, and that works very well for us. I don't really need to criticize my own ideas because there's a line of people criticizing them more or less every day. For example, now in the board meeting, you know, where we have a strategy, and it's like every single detail is just being held up towards the light and just examined. No, probably that's a bad idea. You should probably, you know, so it's, so I think for me, it's been more about, you know, being a man pushing 50, you know, associate professor who's been around. It's more like learning to listen to all the criticism. It's been a learning experience, but I've become much better at that.